Well, a couple things have happened in the interim. I recorded the last game of year 7. I recorded the 3-year save. I went to edit those, and there's something wrong with the audio. I'm not quite sure what, but it's one of those cases where every time I talked, there was a beeping noise, and try as hard as I could, and I've been trying for about a week using a bunch of various tools and techniques and so on and so forth. I couldn't get them to work, and I can't go back and record it really because I don't have the 3-year save point saved, which is my own fault. I could go back and do that here, but I think that'd be cheating. As you can see, it's 2037. This is the 7-year save. And so I figured I would just do a 7-year wrap up. We'd look at everybody and everything and go from there. Plus, minor announcement at the end. So even if you skip through this part, go to the end, stick around for that. This is the last season we played when we got knocked out by Chelsea in the round of 16 of the Champions League. We beat them 5-3 the first match, and then they turned around and thumped us 5-0 the second match. We finished the season fairly strong. We beat Lorient 5-3. We lost to Lyon. We lost to Monaco. We drew PFC. We beat Strasbourg. We lost to Le Hack. And then we finished the season on a bunch of high notes, beating Lille, beating Marseille, beating Lens. That was enough for us to finish in second place on 74 points. PSG had a PSG season. They went invincible, whereas we lost 8. And some of those losses were really, really bad, including the 11-1 aggregate against PSG. Some of them were frustrating. The loss against Monaco, the loss against Rennes. Both losses against Monaco, actually, they came back and won that in the last minute. It was annoying. Next season, and we're going to get a glimpse of what's happened here coaching-wise. Fabio Celestini came in. He didn't last the entire season. They only won one cup. Jose Barros, Portuguese, was the head coach at Sporting and Vitória and Famalicão, and spent some time at Al Hilal and Monaco. So he does have a League One connection. Came in, was here for 5 seasons before leaving, and then Giannis Kargas took over. And so we're actually 8 years in. This is one of those cases where I wanted to continue playing, and so I simmed ahead another year just to get some open coaching jobs. I think in this version of the save, I took over Copenhagen, and I'm playing that offline just to play something in addition to the web save I'm doing with BFC Dynamo, which is on the blog. I'll link that down below. So this was the first year after I left in terms of transfers, and we're going to look at all of them, and they went absolutely nuts. And the game does this quite a lot, and it's one of the things that's always frustrated me about this is that I realize the 4-2-4 isn't exactly a standard formation. You think it would be, but it's not played all that often in the real world. It's always a 4-2-3-1 or variants of the 4-2-3-1, 5-3, 1-2, that sort of thing. So the new coach comes in, and rather than use the players you have, goes out and tries to find better players, and they end up paying a bunch of money for them, even though they may not turn out. So, like, as an example, they signed Jacob Kaminski for going on $60 million. He is a defensive back. Can also play on the midfield and the advanced midfield. And I suspect when he was here, and he is still here, he's had some good seasons. Those tell me he's either playing midfielder or he is playing defensive back. The fact they paid all $60 million out, that's not bad. But he's been here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons. He's 35, which means they got him in at 27. $48 million, that's not a bad deal. David Calabria, who recently retired, came in from Milan. Diego Lotte came in from Porto. Raimondi came on from Juve. Christopher Clark came in from Napoli. Daniel Maldini came in from Bologna. Zakaria came in from Man United. Pizzella, Hurtado, Polina, Mendy, Christopher Ajer came in. All these guys are defenders. The vast majority of them are defenders. Maldini isn't, I believe. He's a coach now. They essentially rebuilt the back line, and as a result of that, they finished 8th that year, completely out of European football, completely out of any sort of football. As you can see, 14 games won, 12 games drawn, 8 games lost, and the coach got fired. Didn't even last year. So the new guy came in, and that's before we even looked at the outs. On the outs, Asamba went out on loan, Vergerol went out on loan, Bertrand went out on loan, money-wise. Policery left for 1.8, Fjellheim left for 1.4, Altera left for 2.7, Spores and Awe each left for 10 million. Zach Awe is one of those guys in this version of FM who his potential and current ability range is really, really great. If you get the good roll on him, he turns into quite the quality center back. So right now he's at Red Star. He's leaving on a free transfer. Doesn't say to who, though. I'd have to do a little bit more investigating, but we're not going to look at that. Betlison left to Brentford for almost 12 million. Santos went to China for 13.75, and Demir, which I knew was going to happen at some point in time, went to Man United for 1.2 million. This kid came through on our second youth intake, and he was absolutely fabulous for us. But he left Man United. He is now at Inter, and he had a good career at United. Oh, he also had a good career at Arsenal. What happened there? I totally missed that. For stats, Man United bought him for 1.2 million. He had three okay seasons, and then he went to Arsenal and had some very solid seasons there, and then he went to Inter and has had a couple of really good seasons there. I suspect he went to Man United and they either played him out of place or they played him in the wrong role. So next season, new coach comes in, they spend 230 million, they sell 216 million. Ajer they had on loan and they bought him. Poggi came in, Ezekiel Palacios came in, Weston McKennie came in from Juve, Tyreek Mitchell came in from Tottenham. He's no longer in the game. Hurlison came in from Madrid. Amadou Onana came in from Everton for 37.5, and then Thiago Gouveia came in from Tottenham. He's no longer in the game for 68 million. On the out, a bunch of loan players. Hurtado left for 5.75. Polino left for 6. Asamba went to Freiburg for 8.5. This was mildly frustrating. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. Varela went to Man City for 31.5. He's a guy we picked up. Takura Inamori went to Palace for 62, going to 69 million. He wanted to leave the last season I was there. And then last but not least, Jaroslav Kasparek went to Arsenal for 96 million, going up to 107 million. But first, we're going to look at Asamba. It's going to be his whole career there. As you can see, he is no longer at Freiburg. He is at Lazio. And I think this is a case of not being able to find a spot to fit into, especially with us. Had I stayed, he would have played advanced midfielder on the right. And I suspect he would have had a very, very good career there. He went to Freiburg on loan. They picked his loan up. He had one season there, was a partial starter. They loaned him out a couple of times. He went to Liefering on a free and didn't play. That or they loaned him to Liefering, and then Salzburg picked him up for 9.5. They played not even a half season there, more like a third of the season. And then Lazio spent 17.25 to get him, and he's turned around and given them some solid seasons. He started most of the games, some goals, some assists, a couple players of the match. He is in the good, not great category, and a lot of that is because he didn't develop as fast as I wanted him to. The Firth loan really kind of put him on the map for a lot of people, and then it was one of those cases where I couldn't make up my mind and always thought I had someone better at advanced midfielder on the right, and I should have just played him. And then Inamori went to Crystal Palace, where I believe he's still there. He is. I don't know exactly what positions he's playing. Fullback, or is he playing attacking mid? I can't tell. And I don't know where to go for the stats. There's no form on here. If there is, I need to touch base with Jim and find out. Anytime he's a star player. His best role is unknown. And when he was on the club, it was advanced midfielder on the left, but I always played him as a wing back because he was really, really good there. So, and then Kasparek went to Arsenal. This kid was probably one of the best pickups I've made in FM. He's wanted by some very big clubs. He's still a very, very good player. We look at him as a striker. He's doing really well there. Although he came off the bench this last season, only had 7 goals. I don't know if that's because of injuries. We'll take a look at that here real quick. No, not really. It looks like maybe, well, you know what? He went to Arsenal. Arsenal has a good squad. He probably got lost in the shuffle there. And that's exactly what happened. 20 matches played, all off the bench. As we can see down here, only the 1 goal. Next season, only 9 matches played, 3 starts, 6 off the bench. Went to Crystal Palace, had an okay half season there, it looks like. Went on loan to Atletico Madrid, had a very good season there. 28 appearances, 16 goals, 3 assists, 16-12 off the bench, and then looks like he went on a free to Arsenal. He's been a bench player there because they have Mattia Tomase, who is so that was not money well spent by Arsenal. On the other hand, it was money well spent for us because we turned 550,000 into 107 million. Season after that, 84 in, 23 out. No one really of consequence here. Bertrand left. Pizzella left. Christopher Ajer left. I've talked about this before in previous games and previous videos like this. The computer will buy player A at 40 million. Advanced midfielder on the right, player A for 40 million. And then 2 years later, sign advanced midfielder on the right for 35 million. And then the third year, advanced midfielder on the right, player A gets sold for 20 million. It's this constant recycling of players that The computer just doesn't know when good is good enough. It's constantly trying to improve, and it just ends up digging itself a hole. If you're a rich club like we are, or PSG, you can get away with that for a while, but at some point in time, your bad choices catch up with you, and you really start falling off. So in this case, we seem to be, and I say we meaning St. Etienne, seem to be buying defensive players left and right, simply because we just have no idea what the heck we're doing there. Next season Ruben Neves came in, Eddie Mevic came in, Matteo Ruggeri came in, Hector Ojeda came in on loan. And I know Ojeda because he was a new gen I had my eyes on. He was capped, but he's solid. But again, he's someone playing on the right side of the field. Who we had a player on the right side of the field, and it was just we sort over here, we can see it on the outs. I mean, some of these, Rupert went out on loan. Palacios left on loan. Weston McKinney left on loan, and he literally came in last season. Fages, he's a under-19 player. Bellman went out. Zeki Obik went out. Tarek Mitchell went out. He was here for a couple of years. Maldini went out. He was only here for a couple of years. Lucien Zanga, who was my wingback on the left with More, they would switch back and forth. He can play the left side of the field really good. Went to Leicester. He has had a fairly good season. I suspect he's playing left back for them, given the number of starts he has and everything like that. That would make sense. For the good news is, for the most part, they've been selling more players than they've been bringing in. They've maybe not made a lot of money, but they've at least broken even on more than a couple. And with even the Yaroslav sale, they've made more than enough money. So like here, we brought in Asmodic, an older Asmodic for 2.1. Okay, that's a good pickup. He's a bench player. It's depth. That's not bad. Nilsson for 11 million. I'm not sure about. Fagioli for 17.5. Probably not. And then Kefram Thuram. We need a midfielder. He was here for all the couple seasons, and we turned around and he didn't get a ton of playing time here. He wasn't part of the plans. They turned around, loaned him out to Sassuolo, who picked up his option. Stuff like that. It's just annoying. And then on the outs, we got 150 million out. Who went out here? Morrison went out. Chese left. Martinez left. Olivier left. Gervais Akube left to Real Madrid for 53 million. And Hurlison left to Real Madrid for 58 million. And Akube was a solid keeper for us. He came out of the Cote d'Ivoire Academy. We bought him for 250,000. He was a solid keeper for us. Had some very good seasons. Had a lot of shutouts. Maybe in the Hall of Very Good, not a Hall of Fame keeper. Went to Madrid, and he's done fairly well there. Decent amount of shutouts. Decent amount of appearances. A couple players of the match. I think this was the last season for us. When your keeper is getting 4 players of the match awards, that's both good and bad. And here, 78 million in, 48 out. We'll just look at the big ones coming in. Rini and Vinloff. Vinloff looks familiar. Is he regen? No. Kulusevski came in for 4.8. Again, an older player. Boubacar Kamara, again, an older player. And then on the outs, Yves Akomier went to Tottenham for 136 going to 155. This kid was part of our first really good youth intake. Holy cow, 59 caps, 35 goals. He has had a solid career at Tottenham. 13 goals, 10 players of the match last year. 12 goals, 8 assists, 7 players of the match. How good has he been? Best player in Europe, best 11. Midfielder of the season in the Champions League. Player of the season, Champions League winners at Tottenham. French Player of the Year, World Player of the Year runner-up. Kid was runner-up in the Golden Boot, essentially. Lost out to Enrico Schultz, who is the striker at United. Gomier has turned into a world-class player, without a doubt. The season after that, 91 in, 164 out. So they're positive in their money flow. This one here, they brought in a lot of these guys are going to be new gens. We're at the point where 12 years into the game, a lot of these guys are going to be new gens, or they're going to be older players like Conti here. Marcus Leonardo, again, older players who I don't know how long are they going to contribute. You spent 37 million for Marlon Bruning, who's a new gen for Man City. I can understand that, and he's still here. He's an advanced midfielder on the right. And then on the outs, the big ones were Kim Jin-hee, who was a midfielder, went to Bayern for 80 million, going to 108. Hori Sudakov, who I did not bring in, midfielder/striker, came in from Madrid on loan, and then he must be a midfielder. That could be a trade for trade. An older midfielder. 21 years he's been in the game. Ruggeri left, Battagliani left, Ruperne left, Hannibal left. I'm not recognizing all these names anymore, but the Thuram, he was here a couple of seasons ago, now he's going out on loan. And honestly, at this point, it's 2036, 2037. I'm just looking at names to see if there's anybody that I recognize going out. Nope. I see Verde coming in for 37.5. As an example, we'll look at Rini, who's a regen. Comes to 24, they turn around and sell him for 38. And sometimes a lot of that's going to be reversed. Sometimes we would have bought him for 38. They would have, and the team after me would have sold him for 34. And that was the last season of transfers. So the first year after I left, we finished 8th. Second year after I left, they finished 2nd behind PSG again. PSG's at that point where they're just going to dominate. We finished in 2nd place, 20 points behind. Season after that, we finished in 5th, although we pipped Lyon due to goal differential, it looks like. Then a 4th place finish, a 6th place finish, a 6th place finish, a 4th place finish, another 4th place finish. So, I mean, we're top 4 more often than not. Nice and Rennes have both built up really good squads. Lyon's always going to have a good squad, as is Monaco. Lille is one of those teams that, depending on what happens ownership-wise in that, they be really, really good or really mediocre. If we look back, we can see Lille has been up there as often as we have, along with Nice. So, Nice has turned into quite the powerhouse, too. Rennes has been kind of on the outside looking in. If we look at the schedule, we're just going to look at the European games. So, this is where we lost at Chelsea my last season. Season after that, we lost in the French Cup to Monaco, and we got knocked out of the knockoff playoff round by Juve, 2-1. This year, we didn't even make European football because we finished 8th in the league. This year, we won the French Cup, beat PSG on penalty kicks, made it to the league knockoff round, lost to Madrid on penalty kicks. That sucks. Year after that, went to the round of 16, lost to Vittorio on penalty kicks. Year after that, Champions League phase, lost to, didn't even get out of the group. Drew with Young Boys, drew with Antwerp, drew with Barcelona, drew with Sevilla, drew with Copenhagen, beat Benfica, lost to Bayern. Yeah, I could see why. Because, you know, Bayern and Benfica all finished high. Sevilla probably finished high. Barcelona did as well. Man United, holy cow, that's a tough group. Man United, Barcelona, Sevilla, Copenhagen, Benfica, and Bayern. We drew a lot of games, but that's not going to see you through. We did, however, beat Lille in the French Cup. Season after that, won the Trophy to Champions, lost to Lyon on penalty kicks in the 9th round, lost to Atalanta in the in the league round of 16 on aggregate, 3-2. And then this one here, we ended up in the Europa League, beat everybody pretty handily, lost in the French Cup semifinal to Marseille, beat Red Star in the round of 16 first leg, beat Chelsea in the quarterfinals, that's a little bit of revenge, and then lost to Bayer, 2-1 in the semifinals. And then last season, they won the French Cup, and they bowed out in the league phase of the Champions League in a group with Liverpool, Juve, Young Boys, Man City, Vittorio, Stuttgart, Nordsjælland, and Freiburg. So in 6 years, the coaches after me won 2 cups. Gianna Cargas has come in. He's won a French Cup. They didn't win any European games, but were constantly competing. I would consider that a success. I would consider that a return to glory. Yes, we're not winning the competitions, but we're making our presence known. We're going far. You're getting to the quarterfinals, the Champions League. You're getting to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, the semifinals of the Europa League. You're doing really well. And to be honest, St. Etienne is set up for success. They're a good club in a good league. They just don't have the money to compete, which means you're relying on youth and scouting. It helps that they have one of the better youth setups in the game. I mean, overall, our first youth intake was absolutely fabulous. I think if I was to look, if we were to search. So here were some of the guys that came in on our first youth intake. I had high hopes for Comier, which is why he's got the 25A++. And without a doubt, he has had a stellar career. I mean, 2nd place in World Player of the Year. You know, had some really good seasons, had a great season before he went to Tottenham. The other one we were looking at was Vergerol, who was part of the Too Many Good Players in a Position. He plays striker, but when I had him, he was also playing against midfield on the right. He's only been capped once. He has not had the best career. That's because he did not develop all that well. But as you can see, he's not Reims, and he's having some quality seasons there. 31 appearances, 12 goals, 3 assists, 31 appearances, 11 goals, 3 assists. This is a case of him just not getting the development he needed because this wasn't that sort of save. If I was doing a youth development save, he would have been a lot better. If I was doing a long-term save, he would have been developed a lot better. In this case, I wanted to learn from my mistake at Crystal Palace when I did a Return to Glory. At Palace, I brought in a bunch of youth players, and Palace never really saw any success. I wanted St. Etienne to have some success. French Cup wins are a success. Going deep into European competitions are a success. I'm counting it. If you disagree with me, tell me why down below. So with that said, this save is coming to an end. This was fun, and I really like doing it. I have to apologize for the last month or so of videos. I've had some stuff come up that I've needed to take care of. As a result, my next save that I was going to do for the YouTube with Albion in Uruguay, I'm not going to do. I'm just not going to have the time for it for a variety of reasons. I do, however, have my blog save going on with BFC Dynamo. It's on my website. It's really, really fun. I'm having a good time with it. I would encourage you to follow along there and participate along there. For FM24, I will come back. I will probably do the Albion save at some point in time. I like this format of picking a club that's kind of fallen on hard times and bringing them back to glory. I also like doing it in countries that I haven't played all that often. So next year, we're going to go to a different country, probably somewhere in the eastern side of Europe. Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary maybe, possibly Greece, one of those countries, and see what we can do. So, that said, if you have liked what you've seen and heard, please leave a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I will answer them as fast as I can. If there's anything you'd like me to look at, or if you want the save posted, let me know. I can do that as well. My name is FM23. Thank you very much for watching.